Hello there. Yeah, I guess for me making a YouTube video right now, depending on what persons may or may not think about me making YouTube videos, the people who actually watch my YouTube videos, however many people that are, I have no idea, as I made many complaints before about um, the analytics, and I can make most certain complaints about the algorithms on my YouTube Surface, which they did force me to buy platinum. My whole internet shut down. They told me I had to buy platinum. And, I've gone over there and gone, well, or premium, I should say, not platinum. Um, I could turn it off, but this thing going, oh, but you lose all your benefits. What benefits? I don't see any benefits here. And you know who talks like that? A fucking psychiatrist. That's what the first thing they go. Or a dirty salesman who knows how a psychiatrist talks. They always go, ooh, well, you lose your benefits. Oh, but what about the pros and the cons and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, fuck off. I have proved a scientific test of my own. Um, now, this isn't the easiest thing to explain because there are persons whose fault it is. And, as I said, I collect medals and helmets and things like that, and at present they're carrying dust, right? And they're a great intrinsic value, and they accumulate in value 10% every year, and they will be antiquity 20 years from now. Um, so and it's part of historical things, so I don't see a issue with people collecting World War II stuff. And as I said before, it just so happens the German stuff happens to be worth a bit more money than the Canadian local stuff or even the American stuff in most cases. Well, unless you got a fighter pilot helmet with the mask apparatus, even from the Cold War era, well, it would be from the Cold War era. That would that would fetch a few $100 American. That'd be kind of cool to have. Anyway, I keep having this is the build up to my story. I keep having vivid dreams, especially of late, and there's a combination of reasons why that is. Um, and one is medication. I dare I say I've made videos talking about medications before and why I dislike them, and for good reason. Um, a lot of people don't know this about the bureaucracy, what they call mental health, which is a more kind term, but they still do the kind of vicious things they used to do to people. So I have to be concerned about those people. I was just in hospital, as I said in an earlier video. They were not happy that I wouldn't go to the bigger one, and I explained to them why I'm not going, and I knew how to talk to them, so I didn't have to go to the bigger one. They didn't like that, didn't like it at all. And I'm sure these vivid dreams and physical stimuli would be worse had they carted me off there, which is what they wanted to do. Sickening, isn't it? Absolutely sickening. So anyway, I I came up with a theory, and it's like, how is that even possible? How could that have happened? Well, for one thing, it's too warm in here, but I'm okay with that because my dad's got he could have pneumonia, so he's concerned about that. It's getting kind of cold, so the heat being on is fine. I should probably be dressed more appropriately, which is why I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, right? But I still like having a little, you know, um, sweater on at least, in case it's not so warm outside of my room because my room gets particularly warm. Um, And it could perhaps be a paranoid thought, but hey, if someone's willing to explain to me why I'm incorrect about something, then by all means. Um, however, Okay, so how to best to explain this? With medications being involved, which heighten certain things sometimes, as strange as it sounds, why would a psychiatrist want to do such a thing like that? Is there are chemicals that go on in the brain, right? Everybody's got them. That's the way it is, and they can be amplified. A lot of people go, "Oh, you're just on drugs." No, the psychiatrist would call them pharmaceuticals, like prescribed medications, as in from somebody with a license, as in a place I didn't want to go to in the first place. Because you can't trust a psychiatrist. There's very few instances where you can trust them. That's their nature, of course, to if they cannot immediately have the so-called evidence that they're looking for to have you thrown away and throw the key away, then they'll try to make it, which is lying, cheating, manufacturing evidence. Um, because I have to remember, auditory hallucinations or something, and visual ones, are really things that most people, if they're going to suffer from them, are only going to do so when they're actually asleep. And given certain medications, and I got a whole catalog of medications that I have to take if I don't. I feel sick if I do take them, but I feel even, more physically ill if I don't take them. So I really don't have much of a choice. Um, and I do feel like they're trying to abstract information out of me that doesn't exist. Um, so not, stupid or anything like that. At least I like to think not. Um, but yeah, I actually there's a movie where this happens to people, or a series of movies where this tends to happen to people, and psychiatrists know all about it. In fact, they're probably the ones who created this movie, and it's coincidental that I'm wearing a red hood. Well, it's not the same kind. It just happens to be red, that's all, with, kind of a plaid thing going on. Um, anyway, I call it the Freddy Krueger effect, or the Freddy Krueger false confession effect. We're allowed to have dreams, we're allowed to have thoughts. And a lot of people don't know this, but they can be influenced by sound and physical stimuli that are with no doing of your own. But if you're like me, I wasn't drunk today. Today I only had one beer, not even a particularly strong one at 6.5%. Although that's kind of strong for some pansy. Um, anyway, it really felt that I was being rocked in my sleep, like somewhat aggressively. And, you know, I wanted to prove something because I know that those bastards and bitches back at the hospital didn't like the fact they couldn't, pin me down to one of those moving wheelchairs and cart me off to the torture asylum and the larger hospital with the more advanced equipment so that they can amplify the things they're already doing. I'm not giving them the opportunity to do that. That would be silly. But anyway, I did actually make it was, it was more of a test, but again, I said, um, as far as the Israel Palestinian thing, which a lot of people take very seriously, you can't even say certain things or it just super offends them. Because let's face it, most people out there, out in the real world, are cunts. They're cunts. And they have, you know, it's on the other side of the fucking world. Why the fuck would I care about them? I don't. And so I made, well, it was kind of a joke, like a simple thing, like whatever, saying it's too bad they couldn't both lose. essentially. I have to relook up my quote. I'm sure, it's still there. That, I'm using because someone else has already used it. Means makes sense, and it helps prove my point that in order to obtain an easy and what they would consider a fair manufacture of things that aren't true, I have to remember my walls, like most walls of most houses these days, they don't want you having thick walls. A lot of people like thick walls. They like hardwood floor. They like all those nice things. But most houses that are built today are built with relatively thin walls. So if somebody is having a vivid dream, they may talk during their dream, um, even if you got a sore throat like I do. So that may cause you physical discomfort, but the distinction between um, that kind of pain and what's going on with your body and all that sort of stuff um, is going to be different than what somebody might figure. I mean, most people don't have to have this problem. Most people get to, go to sleep at night and, wake up in the morning and go do their job or go to school or whatever. And it isn't an issue. But for me, those psychiatrists, and I've never even met any of them really. I haven't seen any of them. The ones I did see, I haven't seen them in years. Doesn't mean they're not out there. Doesn't mean they're not watching my YouTube videos. So I'll, keep rabbiting on and let's see what they got to say about that. Won't like it, I presume. Um, but yeah, I said something they would really have liked to have heard. Not that they think that that's a fact, and that's kind of why I went on to the YouTube to explain this. But of course, the problem with going on YouTube, as I said before, is someone could mess around with the audio very easily. Even lip sync. There's so many things that you can do with computers these days. So making a YouTube video, I think, is going to help, but I have no guarantees about it because I don't know who's going to download it and then replay it somewhere else with different audio. That is a possibility and a probability, actually, because I feel as though, given the medications I was forced to take, uh, indirectly, because as I said, like with my body, if I take the medications, it makes me feel physically ill. If I don't take them, it makes me feel even worse. Um, but on paper, I'm actually allowed to not take them at all because, as I said, I was free to go. I escaped from them for now. I don't exactly live very far away from them. I don't think they came here, but they may have blackmailed somebody else into doing it. Somebody closer by. And I wouldn't even be mad at him because he normally wouldn't do such a thing. But, you get some really sick characters out there in the real world and, outside of this house, of course. And they don't like certain things, and sometimes, they let their emotions get a hold of them and they act like what I said, like cunts. You know, we're of English descent. Using the word cunts is a normal word to use. Um, anyway, yeah, so I did. I made a silly comment on the Facebook about how I really didn't care about the Israeli-Palestinian situation, and I don't. I mean, I understand it's a great horrific thing, but it ain't got diddly to do with me. Um, and it's the real nut bars that exist in all the places in the Metro Vancouver area that if we didn't have such keystone bureaucrats, I would say they're the P word, but I'm not going to. Because they really are, they're always looking for the lousy, cheap answer. and whatever's easiest for them is what they want to do because we pay them the big dollars in our taxes, right? And what do they want? They want to be as lazy as possible. I mean, most people do in their job because, oh, I'm too important, I'm doing too many things, blah, 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 blah. Or whomever is doing too many things is too important. I don't think they are that important. I think they want to do 2 hour lunches and, you know, be home early in the day and drink back Calvados and do fuck all. And that's basically it. But they want everyone to respect them. Oh, good sir. Yes, oh, good sir. Please, please don't be like that. Um, yeah, so I call it the Freddy Krueger effect because, especially with the right type of medication on certain subjects, we'll call them, like myself, a little bit of physical stimuli will be enough to it doesn't like the thing is how the mind works. This again, I could be incorrect about, but whomever would have been easiest for her to do it had to have exited the area and with enough time so that everything looks the way it was, as I suspected it would. I didn't have to go look, as a matter of fact. Um, yeah, a little bit of physical stimuli, perhaps even repeating certain words in the head along with the auditory hallucinations that come along with the medications. I don't even know what medications I have that cause that because they're not gonna they lie about what medications can and can't do. Like I know this. I've known them for doing it for years, but it's like, well, I mean, I guess I'll be taking the medications, won't I? For now, anyway. Wait till my lawyers get a hold of this. Not the easiest thing to explain at all, but yeah, they don't like me having German stuff at all because we live in Canada and blah blah blah. I mean, you got certain persons like East Indians who don't live a million miles away from here and they all have their things, but their legal system's different somehow. We're all supposed to have the same legal system, but no, if you watch the television, it's not the same. They say it is, but it's not. And it should be the same, but it isn't. Somehow the legal system works differently for them because they have a different set of lawyers and they hang out in a separate crowd. Now, what the current government, federal government, is trying to do is kind of go, you know, while bullshitting at the same time, is kind of say that the whole thing, you know, we're all working for one, you know, we're all the same sort of people and that sort of stuff. But deep down, realistically, I mean, I'm using the East Indians example, but you know, we also got the Chinese mafia here. We got various smaller, you know, mafias around. There's of course probably bikers not too far away. That's kind of how it works. That's the reality. Um, Not some sort of false wet dream or something like that. And I mean by sweating, of course, because I told you how warm it is in here, not the actual other meaning of what people think a wet dream is. Yeah, I do have to be conscientious because I do have a sore big toe, and um, moving in any form while I'm asleep in bed and not being able to feel the pain sensation the same way. That means you could make a toe, for example, like I've got, worse. The toe could be made worse because of friction and all that sort of stuff. I was told that I have gout. Now, I'm not actually drinking the correct alcohol or enough of it in the last couple of days, actually. Um, Beer typically doesn't cause gout, neither does vodka. Um, and there's a few other drinks that typically don't cause it. It's normally things like brandy or port or red wine, things like that cause it. And you really do have to be older than me and to have been drinking it a lot longer for this sort of thing to happen. But anyway, that's important because I don't want this toe getting any sore. And it wasn't until a few days ago. So I was never, when I went to the hospital, I was never explained as to what exactly was wrong with my toe. You want to know something? I don't think it's gout. I think it's a small fracture, and that's why it's kind of, uncomfortable. But I've had a lot of painful experiences, so, based on medications and things like that usually. So I really don't think that I think it's a hairline fracture. That's what I think. Because I can still sort of move it. They gave me medications for it. I could Google up those medications, but is Google going to tell me the truth? Why would Google ever lie to anybody? Um, so these are all things worth pondering about. But no, I'm not selling or giving away my German helmet and medal collection or any of the other stuff. I don't care if it's where it's sitting, which currently my best helmets are on the floor. I don't care if they continue to do that and collect dust because who cares? They're still there. I'll put them away later when I feel like it. Um, yeah, not the answer some people want to hear. Hey, let's have a look at one of my pickle odds. Yeah, some people don't like these things. You may notice that the brass on the top is different from this brass in the sense, not just the shape, but also the color, which means that, or the hue. Basically, it means wherever this was, it was somewhere different from this one, which means it's not original to the helmet. I think I've explained that before, but anyway, then I'm using that as an example. Put that back. Yeah, so this video must sound very strange to persons who's not experienced such a thing, but and that'll be most people. But there are creepazoids out there, like psychiatrists, for example, that they don't think like normal people. But unfortunately, I've inherited that ability to not exactly think like the way I'd like to think, which is not to have to worry about this kind of stuff. But yeah, those psychiatrists, they tend to be sore losers. And same with that other organization. Um, and they're overpaid around here. Like seriously, they deserve a 25% pay cut for the lousy job they're doing. And I'm a simple grocery clerk, right? And people think I'm being paid too much. Excuse me if you never got it together to buy a house or do anything of the things you want to do. I don't know how you spend your money, but evidently you fucked up if you don't fucking have your own house. That's in my opinion. And whose fault is that? Is that my fault? Fuck off. I'm not moving. Why should I? Just because you're jealous. There is nothing another person has that I want, except if I'm acquiring it through purchasing, like, uh, German military stuff or American or Canadian. I don't not collect that stuff. It's just not worth as much money typically. Um, you know, Other than that, I'm not one of these people who goes, "Ooh, I can't stand it that that guy's got a house. Ooh, I can't stand it that that guy's got a girlfriend or something like that." And it's like, well, if it makes you feel better, sometimes women, not always, but sometimes women can be physically attractive, but they can still be, silly things like hookers and, basically, types of people that'll go with any man that has money. There are a lot of women out there like that because their idea of betterment is to kind of, leech off of something that does have the things they want, which is what you'd expect out of a woman. Uh, Um, so yeah, I gotta be careful because yeah, they could yeah, I don't know, uh, give me long pink hair in a video, but obviously anyone's gonna be able to spot that out as being fake. Especially if I were to walk outdoors tomorrow and this so-called pink hair that they put on this video as video editing isn't there. I'm not gonna grow pink hair overnight. Um, but yeah, I did smell a body odor when I woke up because of all the profuse sweating I was doing and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I went and had a shower. I'm not going anywhere or doing anything. Oh, what a situation to be in. Like, seriously, it's not a lot of fun. Hey, but you may have noticed that my eye has more or less recovered. Thank you, Polysporin. Shouldn't think that out loud. Sometimes they have medicines that make it so the Polysporin doesn't work. They can do that too, actually. That can be done. Um, and why would they want me to walk around like that? Because then it makes me look like a crazy person. Then they have more of a pretext. Go, oh, look at him, look at the state he's in. He's deteriorating. And it's like, no, actually, I'm not. You guys are just a pack of fucking assholes, is what you are. And your stupid tricks don't work. So I would appreciate it if you stopped doing that. You're not going to, are you, though? I have to think about that. Because obviously, if you're going to, I was not going to have a sore throat for 10 years. I wasn't going to have some other physical ailments that I have to suffer from, like the sore throat, and you know, I get stomach pains. They're getting annoyed with me because there's one. I'm not going to say the name of it, but basically, it helps with digestion. And it's a real simple medication. In fact, it's not difficult at all, but it's kind of gross actually. But someone invented it, and it helps with digestion. Basically, they take the pancreas enzymes out of a different animal and they put it into a capsule and make you take it, and it helps with digestion. Supposedly, anyway. I have no idea what it does actually, but I'm told that's what it does. As a mental health patient, or a former one, I consider, you know, they may have this bizarre rule where they don't have to tell me what's in them. How did I figure that part out? Oh, right, because every time I ask them, they tell me the most simplistic answer they can think of. And I really have to pay attention to what they're saying, so this is why I can't be drinking it so much, especially right now, is because sometimes when a person spends so long, you know, more or less living the solitary life, not by my own choice, but that's simply how it is. And it can happen to people not living a solitary life necessarily, if they're being gang stalked or targeted individual, and there's just a community around them that is saying certain things in kind of a whispery type of way, so it kind of creeps into the back of someone's head. Now, do not look up what a targeted individual is on the YouTube, or maybe you get better results with gang stalking. I haven't really looked, but as I said about gang stalking, it could be just a pack of barbaric zombie homeless persons that don't like that you don't ever give them a tip. They could be hunting you down because they go, oh, why do they may go, why do they have to live out in the cold street in the cold winter and I get to live in a nice warm house? And it's because I'm not a penniless idiot. That's why. They are penniless idiots. I am not. That's why I get to live in a house. And they do not, because they're penniless idiots. That's not my problem. That's their problem. And there's so many twisted laws out there in the world, and people are going, oh, but what about all those other people out there? Don't you care? No. If you're willing to do what you're doing to me, why do I care? I don't give a flying fuck. Like, in my place of employment, there was some bitch who was coming around and she, I don't know what deal she made with management, but she was coming around and, you know, evidently she was allowed to be there, although I didn't agree with it, but really actively taking, you know, our foodstuffs. You know, because that's the nature of the grocery business. You throw shit away, you know, because people aren't going to buy it. And they go, well, why don't you give it to the homeless? Because, oh, what about this silly fact? What did I tell you? I don't give a fuck about them at all. And if they're willing to do things they're willing to do, I especially don't give a fuck about them. And that especially goes for Israeli, the Palestinian conflict. If they want to go have their fight on the other side of the world, they go on ahead. That's their fucking problem. Not my fucking problem, their fucking problem. And if the so-called Canadian Palestinians or the Canadian Israelis that live over here are going, oh, well, you can't say such a thing. Well, if you feel so strongly about it, why don't you go to that area of the world and do something about it? I'm sure through humanitarian needs or whatever, you could go do that. But around these parts, this ain't happening. So, you know, I do get, in a position where I'm getting frustrated that people still think they have the right to do these things against persons that have nothing to do with other problems because they made a simple joke on Facebook. Get fucked already. Sod off. And, you know, I don't blame anyone specifically because I don't know exactly everything. I know some things, and that's why I do my scientific investigations over here. Um, However, I don't want my big toe getting any worse, so, you know, it's just sometimes things feel eerie and natural. So, something worth considering anyway. Um, yeah. So I'll leave that at that. And well, I guess I could try to get back to sleep. I won't be able to because that's how my chemical balance is working in my body. When I go to sleep, when I don't really have much of a choice in most regards. Alcohol used to fix that problem, but then they went, oh no, we can't have him controlling when he can actually go to sleep when he wants to. Why would we want something silly like that? But anyway, I'm beginning to overheat a little bit, so I'm gonna go have me a cold brewski. And whoever doesn't like that, well, whatever it is you do when you get mad, you go do that. But don't do it around here. Um, so yeah, I'll be right back. I'll go get my cold brewski because I got a refrigerator in my room, believe it or not. Yeah, I bought one of those. I paid a good price for it too, and it was like, you know. There are also persons out there who dislike it that somebody like me has those kinds of things. And it's like, what did I tell you about me not giving a fuck about your situation? I don't give a fuck about it. If you give a fuck about your situation, why don't you think proactively and do something about it? Like, and I don't mean go find the first person who has that sort of stuff and, you know, act like how some places in America are doing that, thinking they can just steal people's stuff. Is why don't you be proactive? Why don't you go back to school or something like that and, you know, learn how to do something? You know, or learn how to, you know, go to driving school and learn how to drive a car so that you can, you know, one day be able to drive one of those big semis. Those guys get paid kind of well. You might be able to better your situation in that respect. I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking, but I know what I'm thinking. I'm overheating and I want a cold brewski. There it is. Awesome. Not a bad one. There we go. Very refreshing. So yeah, I'll talk to my filthy fan base at some other point in time, and hopefully they can solve their own problems on their own and not have to cause other people problems to, you know, better themselves. which is what a thief does. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. So have a good one.